All right guys, Brent Fikowski here. We are doing some professor project action for you, and today we're going over some dumbbell movements. So I'm going to do sort of three parts here, all sort of combined together. The three most common dumbbell movements we've seen lately in CrossFit programming, and that is the one-arm dumbbell power snatch, the one-arm dumbbell squat snatch, and the one-arm dumbbell overhead squat. So those are three movements we're going to go over in this section. So we're going to start with how you should sort of prepare for these, and there's a couple stretching cues I'm going to give you, but first and foremost you got to look after your body. You can wear the knee sleeves on the two squat variations, why not? And then for all of these, especially if you're doing lots of high reps, I find that sometimes my fingers take a bit of a beating doing these high rep movements with dumbbells. So I'm going to show you how I like to tape my fingers on the two spots that typically get the hottest. So I'll take my roll of athletic tape, sort of rip it down the middle there, start with the thumb, and with this I want to get as low to my wrist as I can. So I'll do one normal wrap, and then on the second wrap I'll try and get nice and low, and then go back up, and then finish right on the top of the thumb so it doesn't uncurl. And the dumbbell handle is going to be in this crux. And then do the same thing on your pointer finger here, because a lot of times I'll actually get close to tearing right in here. So go, just like that, and do that for both hands. Okay, so now that we've taped our fingers up, first movement we're going to go through is the dumbbell power snatch. Dumbbell starts on the ground, one hand picks up the dumbbell, finishes with the dumbbell above your head, straight line from all the way. So nothing can be bent, got to be straight. And while you do that, your opposite hand cannot be on your leg, whether that's your elbow or your other hand. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see this performed as alternating dumbbell snatches. So they'll say, do 20, and you have to alternate right, left, left. So we're going to go through that. You can hook grip a dumbbell like you would a barbell, wrapping that thumb around. So pretend this is the dumbbell. You know what? Let's actually get that nice and close. It's got the dumbbell here. The standard grip is going to be like this. Hook grip, put the thumb under, and that's going to help keep your grip less fatigued, because it's going to lock it in. It's going to hook grip it in, like a hook with your grip, hence the name. So you can do that, play around with both. It depends on the weight and the reps and what kind of dumbbell you're using. But you can do that. I like to start with the dumbbell. Oftentimes you'll start in a workout, it'll be facing you like that. I'll do the first rep like that, and then after that, I'll switch it so it's facing straight ahead, just like my feet. Keep the hand facing forward. And I'm not going to go into like a lot of idiosyncrasies with the actual act of lifting it. It's more kind of the bigger picture stuff around that, or the smaller details that a lot of people will miss. But you want to lift using your legs, not your back. You want to lift using your legs, not your arm. You want to take a big breath in through your stomach, contract outwards, push outwards with your core so your back is nice and flat. You're not rounding, so you're not using your erectors. There's going to be a bit of a twisting motion when you pull up, and because you're alternating, that's not such a bad thing. Keep this hand out wide, and just drive up with your legs. There'll be a bit of weightlessness because that speed will carry the dumbbell up. And then you have two options, depending on the weight and depending on the other movements in the workout. If it's really heavy, and let's say you have a lot of pressing to do after this, like a bunch of push-ups, you're not going to want to do a muscle snatch. So you're going to want to drive up, drop under it, and stand up. And that's going to keep your shoulder and your tricep from getting fatigued. But if it's lighter and you want to go faster and you don't have a lot of pressing to do for the rest of the workout, you're going to hit that extension and press to the roof in one motion. So I'm going to show you 2 power snatches and then 2 muscle snatches. power snatch, muscle snatch. The next thing we're going to go over is how to alternate hands quickly. Again, this depends on the weight. So for me, once I get over around, for me, it's about 80 pounds. Right around there is where I have to make a hard decision on if I'm going to switch mid-air and then do a touch and go rep, or if I'm going to drop it and switch hands. The lighter it is, the more likely I'm going to finish a rep, switch it, touch and go. It's a lot faster. The heavier it is, it's really hard to do. So you're going to bring it all the way to the ground, switch hands, and do another snatch. So I'm going to show you an efficient way to do multiple reps without doing touch and go. So you want to put the dumbbell down, and when you bring it down, you're going to bring it down in a way where your body is set up to do the next rep. So what I don't want to see is you finishing down like this and then starting your next rep here or trying to straighten out. It's not going to happen. So you need to bring it down in a nice posture, and while you're down on the ground, you switch hands. So do it at a bit of an angle here. So I'll do a few reps switching on the floor. That's switching on the floor. Now in the open this year, 2018, they had the dumbbell snatch again, but they made a new rule. They said if you're switching the dumbbell after you lock out your rep, the dumbbell must be switched below head level. They weren't super specific on this, but previously what we would do is you'd finish here, you'd look up, and you'd basically be changing it right up top. They're changing that rule, I think for safety, so no one drops a dumbbell on their head. So the best way to do it now is whatever hand you're finishing with, the opposite hand, once I'm done the rep, it's out here for balance, and then I bring this elbow in, and I kind of keep this rule in my head, like Brent, as you get tired, keep that elbow touching your side. That way it can't get higher than your face. So I have to bring it down, and then I switch it here, and then I touch and go. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, a couple touch and go reps, and you'll notice they're a little faster than when I switch the dumbbell on the ground. So remember, keeping that elbow here and alternating. All right, dumbbell power snatch. One other thing to keep in mind with this, as these weights get heavier, it's going to be harder and harder for you to pull it off the ground and pop under it. So for me, you know, that gets up to the, when it gets above 100 pounds and I get tired, it gets harder and harder to pick this up. And with one arm, you are going to have to bend your arm a little bit, and then you're going to get deeper and deeper. So you can choose to drop into a squat snatch, and we're going to go over that later, but what I actually prefer, if you can, is going into a split snatch. I had a friend who went to a competition, a master's athlete, and he doesn't have the best overhead position. He's got a little bit tight shoulders. He said, man, as it gets heavy, you know, I had to do 4 reps at 50 pounds, rest a minute, 4 reps at 60, he kept going up, up, up. He said, you know, once I get to 90, 100 pounds, it's really hard. And I said, well, when it gets heavier, I want you, instead of trying to drop under it like this, I want you to open up, and if you have to, you can open up your chest a little bit, stand up, and then bring it overhead, as opposed to trying to stand perfectly upright. You want to work on that ability to lift your hand perfectly straight above your head, but if you don't have it right now, and you're going to a competition, up. So I'll perform a few of those. Again, that's a movement you want to resort to when the weight gets really heavy and you're trying to find a way to get it overhead. Dropping into that split, that kind of deep lunge position you would in a split jerk is going to help you out. Last pointer I'm going to give you with the dumbbell power snatch. So when you're doing any dumbbell movement, you're either going to choke your hand usually to the bottom or choke it to the top. So when I am doing dumbbell power snatches, you end up choking to the top. So I'll show you what that looks like. The dumbbell is going to be closest to your thumb, which is why by the end of it, as you'll see here, this is why I'm wearing this tape. You've got the black and the black there from the rubber. And so if I was to do a couple hundred reps, that would definitely take away some skin if I didn't have the tape on. Okay guys, next up, sort of the next logical step in this is from the power snatch, we go into the squat snatch. And so we've been seeing that coming up in more and more competitions where you have one dumbbell and you're required to pull it up, drop into a squat, and stand up. So we're gonna go over that next.